We'd like to direct your attention once again to Switzerland, where President Goodluck Jonathan, Ghanaian President John Mahama, and business mogul Aliko Dangote were among the panelists discussing the privatization process in Africa.
The president mentioned government's efforts at improving power, alleviating poverty, and dealing with security issues in the country. He's part of 2,500 participants attending the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. Our correspondent, Bolaji Akinwale, reports.
Thanks, Benin. Perhaps it's
the need to reshape the global economy, politics and business brought together these African leaders to this year's World Economic Forum in Davos.
4 tens, Aliko.
6 tens.
Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan highlighted efforts made by his administration to improve power in the country, thereby creating wealth for the majority of the people.
Before this time, even those 36 states are not allowed by law to generate power for commercial purposes. They can't generate for rural development. But for commercial purposes, they were not allowed. Private sector people were not involved in power at all. Even people who generate power for their factories, there are a lot of captive power that are not fed into the national grid because they are not allowed to sell by law. It's only the one generated by the federal government and distributed by the federal government. So now the government can no longer cope, and that's why we moved into the privatization.
Is it working for you?
It's working. The generation and distribution is now exclusively in the hands of the private sector. The transmission is still government, but being managed by a private sector consultant. We've just concluded the privatization, and already Nigerians will tell you that the number of hours that Nigerians enjoy life a day is increasing.
Africa's richest man and the chairman of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, mentioned the importance of investment on the continent and the need to address the growing inequality among the people.
When you look at it, I think today what they need to look at is that, look, there is no government that will be against business. So you go ahead, you invest. The next government that will come in, even after finishing either 8 years or 10 years, they will also be, they are also going to be pro-business. So if they are going to be pro-business, it means that you are not going to really make a mistake by investing.
Because inform Africans what we are doing and what we believe most African countries must do. The lady talks about the issue of policies of government not favoring the poor people. Must we continue to get poor people that cannot afford food? That is one thing you must do. You must create wealth in our societies. It means that you must, in terms of education, in terms of skill acquisition and creating opportunities. Before this time, African countries deal with primary produce, either raw farm produce or raw minerals. We are busy exporting crude oil. We're supposed not to export crude oil. We're supposed to export refined products. These are the areas that create jobs and create wealth, so that the people can afford. The days of government continue to subsidize hydrocarbons, subsidize everything is over.
Other issues raised include lack of trust among member countries in Africa.
You get into the United States, no one asks you about yellow fever vaccination. You get into Britain, no one asks you. You go into Ghana, no one asks you. But Nigeria going to this particular country, they stop them and maybe even deport them. So I call that mistrust and xenophobia, nothing else. Until they require the whole, it was going to create a whole diplomatic role before that country backed down a little bit, then it was resolved.
We put out a statistic that has attracted everybody, that 85 wealthiest people in the world, whom you can sit comfortably on a double-decker bus, own the same wealth as half the population of the world. And we say that there's something wrong with that, not just because it is immoral, but because we also see that those same people, those same companies, actually also hijack political power. And institutions, public institutions, start to work in their favor against the majority.
So this conversation is not expected to end at this forum. What is paramount at this time is to take all the ideas generated and run with it to create the Africa of strong growth and development.
Skills that are actually
Bolaji Akinwale, Channels Television News.